of Governor Dayton, Senator Weber, Representative Rod Hamilton. We are grateful for their tireless work on our behalf, and I want to encourage everyone to continue working on passing this bonding bill. At this time, I'd like to introduce Troy Larson, Executive Director of Lewis & Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start with one clarification, and it's a figure I gave to the mayor, so it's my fault. The 67% that the mayor referred to is how far along the project is in terms of completion. We are currently 67% complete. The federal government has provided just over 50% of the funding that they owe to this project. The reason we're able to complete more, the reason we're at 67% is thanks to the advances that have been provided by the states of Minnesota and South Dakota. So I wanted to start with that clarification. Sorry, Mayor, about that. I also want to first start by saying also thank you to Governor Dayton and our local legislators who have been named, who have worked really hard the last two sessions in 2014 and 15 to secure $47 million in federal funding advances to allow construction to move forward. What we call a federal funding advance is a zero interest unsecured loan that we will pay back with future federal funds once the members are connected. That's a huge step for the state to take, which tells everyone how important this project is to Southwest Minnesota. And South Dakota has also come through with federal funding advance money. Because of those advances, we were able to start delivering water to Laverne this past March. We will get to Magnolia by the end of this year. We will get to Adrian by the end of next year, by the end of 2017. So this last stretch then we need is from Adrian to Worthington. And as the mayor indicated, combined with federal funding, we need $11.5 million. And everything looked great. We were in the governor's proposed bonding bill for $11.5 million. We were in the House bill, the Senate bill. And unfortunately, everything kind of fell apart toward the end. And so I just want to echo what the mayor said, how important it is that a special session be held. This funding is so critical for us to be able to keep construction moving forward and get Worthington water as soon as possible. Worthington has needed more water for 100 years now, and it's high time that we get it done. So we really want to thank the governor and our legislators for doing everything they can to make this happen. With that, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Governor of Minnesota, Mark Dayton. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here today, especially Senator Weber. Appreciate you being here. Representative Schumacher, you're here. This is going to require a good, strong bipartisan effort to enact what we need to. And before I start, though, I always get really nervous, when I see kids in the audience, because let's see, Mina and Caitlin, is that correct? I remember when my sons Eric and Andrew were about your age, and I got them to promise to hear me give a speech. And it was a Saturday morning, so I came down and they were watching cartoons. And so I said, "Come on, guys, you promised you go listen to me speak." And my son Andrew was just about between your two ages, looking at me very seriously. He said, "Dad, I really don't want to go. I heard you speak once, and Dad, you were really boring." So it won't be a too boring day, but you're what this project is about, and your brother Jake?
Caden.
Huh?
Caden.
Sorry, I missed that one. We want you to have clean water to drink, keep you healthy and grow strong and be great citizens, and that's what we're doing this for. I believe strongly in this project. I don't preaching to the choir here, but I'm traveling around the state now to underscore the imperative that we do get to back together, that we do so in the next couple of weeks before the July 1st, which is when the tax bill was scheduled to begin, so we can conclude that on a timely basis, correct the $101 million error to the bill, and then pass this bonding bill, which, as you said, really has the resources necessary. And 2 years is still a long time to wait, but at least if we know the project's going forward. You've got some businesses I know that want to expand their operations and provide more jobs for this area, and they've been stymied by the lack of sufficient water supply. So I know, again, I don't need to convince you of the importance of the project, but it really is vitally important. I also want to point out that that the Minnesota West Community Technical College will get over $1 million, $1.3 million to be exact, in money for basic maintenance and repairs. And that will fix, replace the roof on the library and the Academic Resource Center. I was in Mankato yesterday, and the head of the Community College's foundation said he wished it were raining because then the water would be falling on her head in the classroom. So I will be spared that today, but you know, that investment in creating a better academic environment at our minuscule campuses and University of Minnesota is just crucial to attract and retain the best students, the best faculty, and to give them the kind of quality educations they need and deserve in order to be successful for the rest of their lives. So these are two very important reasons for your legislators and others, and we've all come together. You know, we have our differences, we have our honest differences, but you know, I've said I will compromise and meet halfway, and if others can do that with me, then we'll get this concluded in the next couple of weeks and go on with the summer. So we'd like to respond to questions from anybody. It doesn't have to be just the press. Yes.
Hi. When you go back and relook at the tax bill, I'd like to strongly encourage you to look at the tobacco tax, that we're giving money back to the tobacco companies. We fought long and hard to get taxes on cigarettes to the point where we can help discourage smoking, especially among our children. We really need to keep that tobacco tax in place, not rescind it, and I really want to encourage you to do that.
Well, I respect that. To clarify, it's not going to rescind the tax. It's going to eliminate the inflator on it, but you know, it will have an effect over time, you know, reducing what the tax from what it would be if it escalated. You know, I'll be honest with you. The tax bill, I said I need the error corrected, which is imperative, and then I want a provision to make permanent the sales tax exemption for the Minnesota High School League, which goes into a scholarship fund to allow low-income students to participate in high school sports. I'm not adverse to reopening the bill. I don't know what the legislator's intent is going to be. I don't like that provision either. But you know, as I've always said, compromise means you have to agree to things you don't agree with. And you know, in the spirit of getting that bill settled, I'd accept it with the tobacco tax provision, and I happily sign it without it too. So it's really you know, the will of the legislature on that one. But I understand your concern. Thank you for sharing.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Red Arndt. I'm the chairman of the Lewis and Clark. I guess I just want to thank you for what you've done. And when I first met you in Washington, D.C., when you were our senator, you were still in the little hallway office building.
Yeah.
We were there
Right next to the fire escape.
Yeah, right by the fire.
I was 100th in seniority. That's how you started.
Yeah. But you said at that time that this project was worthwhile, and then when you became governor, you worked on it. It actually happened about 4 or 5 years ago when we had that torrential rain in Rock County, and you and Senator Klobuchar came down. And well, we always take the chance to talk with the senator, especially when we had money coming for the Lewis and Clark. And we were talking to Amy, and you said, well, maybe we can help out. Maybe we can get that into the state to help you out to get this project done and going. Well, it happened along with our legislators, and you know they came aboard, and you came aboard. You never left that. So I really want to thank you. It's time to get this project done. It's been 26 years since Don Havoc and myself and a few other ones started working on this, and I think that the system that needed the water most deserves to get it, and it's really less than 1% of that bonding bill, the $11.5 million to get them water here, and that they can continue to grow just like the rest of us. So thank you again.
You talk about repaying and the money, but the repayment will be in the expanded vitality of Worthington and the expanded industry here and the number of new jobs that will be provided, and the people will bring in, as well as the revenues that will provide to the city and the county and the state. So it's just such an essential project, and And I've just, again, one of the compelling reasons why we need to come back to special session and you know, again, can't, I say, as Yogi Berra said, it ain't over till it's over. And so the Minnesota legislature, even then it isn't over. So nothing's guaranteed, but you know, I think with the House and Senate both in concurrence, if we can get back to session, we'll pass that. And then I look forward to coming to the, turn on the spigot in July of 18. Yeah, right, up for that.
Yeah, expanding what you just said, excuse me, in 1967, I had to move away from here because I moved to Minneapolis because there was not enough job opportunity. And one reason was because of the lack of water. And so these kids, hopefully, when they get out of school, they'll be able to stay in this area and pay taxes, buy a house, do all the things that makes this a more viable community.
As you hit the nail on the head, that's exactly why we need to be doing this, so thank you.
That's why we need it.
And I don't know, these are your grandkids? No? Your grandkids? We got three great grandkids, 2 adorable granddaughters, and a handsome grandson. So I'm glad you brought them along.
Governor, I just wanted to echo the thanks for your advocacy for this project, but also clean water in general. I mean, here in southwest Minnesota, all over the state. I don't know that you'd be the water governor, but that's not so bad.
I'd be happy to be the.
And
He's feeding the buffer bully, that's what it was called.
yeah, I was thinking Yogi Berra, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. You've always been willing to go that way, and this misaligned term, political correct, I've watched you since your Senate days, and I don't think you ever worried about that too much. You've just said what you think regarding issues, and I really have always appreciated that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Nice to see you this close up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dan Morgie, with the West Area Labor Council, representing labor in southwestern Minnesota. And a big chunk of them work out at the JBS plant, which is a huge water user. And I worked out there myself for 27.5 years, so I understand the water that's used. And their jobs are dependent on it. So it's important that the legislature and yourself get together and they get this done. Those, 2,000 plus people put a lot of money into this economy, raise families, and so it needs to get done.
Absolutely, and I'm told they want to expand and hire more people, so it's a matter of getting the water restricting that, so absolutely. But tell the company and tell your members, hang in there, we're going to get it done.
All right.
Thank you. Yes.
What other compromises are you willing to make to go into this special session? I've seen different lists of things that you are requiring, so what has to happen for this to go?
Well, I have to give up some of what I require, and I need the House Republican caucus to agree to increase the level of their bill, which is $995 million. Actually, the House and Senate both passed bills that were that amount. So my final proposal was $1.2 billion with the additional projects I cited in that you're referencing. And so split the difference between $995 and $1.2 billion. You got $1.1 million, and I said that's where I'm willing to meet halfway. So it means I'll compromise, give up some of what I believe is important for Minnesota, especially things like the heat roof for the community college here and all over the state. The MnSCU Board of Trustees said that they would accept all of their bonding allotment this year just for what's called HEPA, the maintenance and repair of the existing facilities. So there are now added a couple other projects that will allow new facility, new buildings and new technology centers to be built. But they're just struggling to keep current what they have. And as I said before, you can't give kids a world-class education if you have third-rate facilities. So I believe that it's not about what I think should be in the bill. It is what I think Minnesota needs and really has to have in order to keep moving forward. So, but to answer your question, common ground is in between those 2 points, or what have you.
What about light rail? That's something they've been talking about a lot in the metro, and you've been taking a stand on, so is that something you're willing to compromise on?
Well, I think the compromise that I do is that they don't want any state dollars to go in, people don't want any state dollars to go into the light rail, and the proposals that have been tossed around would allow Hennepin County to raise its own sales tax in order to fund it. So it wouldn't require any state funding, it wouldn't require anybody living anywhere else to, unless they're shopping in Hennepin County, but, I know Southwest Light Rail is a poster board for, whatever people in greater Minnesota view of the feelings in the metropolitan area, and it's expensive. 45 years ago, the first Met Council recommended light rail. Would that we had the foresight to start putting it then, it would be a lot less expensive, it'd be a lot less complicated to route it, but there's no alternative. People are against Southwest Light Rail who say they want to kill it, and think either they fundamentally disagree with it, or think it's going to make a good campaign slogan next fall. I killed the Southwest line. Haven't offered any alternative. And so the only alternative is some buses which can't follow a straight route, so it'd be slow bus service, or putting more people in cars. And the funding is not just about the Southwest line, it's about Metro Transit, it's about regular bus service improving, it's about rapid bus transit routes, and it's about light rail. 18 of the 20 largest metropolitan areas, including Minneapolis-St. Paul, we rank 16th, have either rail or light rail, and either subways, underground rail, or light rail above ground, and many of them have both. I went through the donor Tampa, which is in the process of building a light rail system, and Detroit, and I don't think we want to model ourselves after Detroit. So, to me, it's just the absence of an alternative. And with 750,000 more people coming into the metropolitan area over the next 25 years, the highway traffic congestion is only going to get worse. And if people can't get business people can't get their employees to and from work, families can't get their kids to and from school and sporting events and doctor's appointments alike, they're going to move somewhere else where they can find the ready access around the area. So to me, it's I regret that it's become so politically charged, because again, I view all these infrastructure projects as what's right for Minnesota, what's right for Worthington for the next 100 years, what's right for the metropolitan area for the next 50, 100 years. And it's got to include public transit in addition to automobiles, obviously.
We were in Minneapolis last Friday. We had to go, we went to the Democratic State Convention. And it took me 2 hours to go from Shakopee to downtown Minneapolis. When I used to live there, I could have done it in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You need that light rail so bad to take that traffic off the snow. It costs so much to build a highway, a lot more than one line in the hall. Hundreds of people at a time. It was terrible. I have to go back to the 50s next week, and I just dread the thought.
White rush hour, that's
And it's going to be on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday was the worst.
Sir.
Governor, I'm Terry Galsik, President of Minnesota West Community and Technical College. Welcome to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support of the Minnesota system, the most affordable, accessible higher education system in the state. Thank you for supporting reinvesting in our students, reinvesting in our facilities. We greatly appreciate your support and the support of our senator and representative. I would also encourage your continued support of the $21 million supplementation bill. For Minnesota West, that's $400,000 that has a direct connection to our service to our students. So thank you.
Thank you, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That is in my supplemental spending request, and I hold fast to that, because that money is essential to allow Minsky to provide the funding you just described. Thank you. Yes.
Governor Dayton, thank you for coming. I'm John Langard, Superintendent of the school district here. One of the things for us to continue to grow and function as a community is the Lewiston Court. It's extremely important. And that needs to happen in our local legislators, and your work have been outstanding. Along with that, it's really important to our district because we're a growing district. We're gonna grow about 700 students over the next 10 years. And we have a space issue. We're looking to build a new high school. The issue is, in the tax bill is the Ag 2 piece of that puzzle. That's vital for us to have an opportunity and all of greater Minnesota to pass bonding bills. Ag land absorbs too much of the burden. So ultimately, I want to encourage, you mentioned education and the extreme role that it plays in our state. So I really want to encourage you folks to compromise, get back, call a special session, and get this taken care of. As we try and explain to voters our needs, that plays a vital role in any information we share. So, and to throw the little caveat out of your preschool, it's the only way we're going to be able to expand our preschool to meet the needs of our community. So it's vital that we have that, and being the most diverse outstate school in Minnesota, it's vital.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Very, very, very well said. You're absolutely right. And that is why it's so imperative we get back together.
Any questions from the
Yes.
meeting?
Governor Dayton, you just have a few weeks before you want to complete this. How likely do you think a special session will be? And if it turns out that one can't be done, what do you recommend for the people who are waiting on Lewis and Clark water here?
Well, as the superintendent said, and the president of Minnesota West, you know, there is no plan B. There's not an alternative. The alternative is failure on for 201 legislators and myself, and I just, you know, can't imagine I can't live with myself failing the people of Minnesota, and I don't think others should be able to either. So I'm, you know, focused on what we need to do and finding that middle ground so we can bring this to a conclusion. And, you know, the reasons have been articulated in both the tax bill and the bonding bill and the supplemental spending are all, you know, three critically important components of it. And I've always said compromise means you agree two things you don't agree with. And in this political era, you know, some people view compromise as a weakness. I view it as an essential element in democracy, where you do have people with very different views, sincerely held, and the only way you're going to find middle ground and common ground is through compromise, not indiscriminately, but where it's necessary to accomplish something. Yes.
Ron Sankey, City Worthington Council. This might be a stretch, but is there a chance that you could take that $11.5 million off the bonding bill and then pull it out of one of your slush funds?
Which slush fund are you
And it was alluded to at the 11th hour, how as far as the bonding bill is concerned, to use a bad pun relating with light rail involved, it went off the tracks. And actually it was light rail that brought it off the tracks. It was the amendment that was offered by Senator Latz with minutes to go that derailed the bonding bill. And granted, the bonding bill should have been dealt with earlier than that. I total agreement with that. But as you explained, that is just how things oftentimes happen. You know, the light rail obviously got started well before I arrived in St. Paul in 2013 to begin my term. And we hear a lot of discussion about light rail. There are certainly strong positions staked out on both sides of the issue up there. And I think that as a greater Minnesota legislator and not directly affected in terms of geographic area by the light rail and the service it provides, and all too often perhaps doesn't provide. You know, you sort of sit back and you see this all developing, and so I just want to share with you, if I may, Governor, some of an outsider's look at that argument that's going on up there. You know, I am not averse to the issue of evaluating light rail. I think we recognize that in the long term that we need to have mass transit up there. I think the first thing we need to do is look at the current rapid transit with the buses and the existing bus system. Senator Scalzi in her final remarks, her retiring remarks, talked about all the years that she served in the legislature, both in the House and in the Senate, and we have not been able to get bus service into, I think it's the Little Canada area, 12,000 workers going out to jobs, no bus service. And I always wonder, if we can't solve a bus issue in a relatively small geographic area compared to the overall metro area, what are our chances of building a successful train? We also have to look at the existing light rail system. Right now, if you take the 15 audited numbers for 3 of the systems and the 14 numbers, because 15 aren't available, we are currently subsidizing light rail almost $70 million because user fees are falling woefully short of being able to fund light rail. I don't have any grand illusion that we'll be able to make that a self-sustaining venture. I understand there will always be some need probably for some subsidy, and I'm not adverse to that because, quite frankly, part of our entire transportation system really becomes a question of a taxpayer-funded project for the good of the entire state of Minnesota. But rather than let light rail stand in the way of a very important tax bill, a very important bonding bill, perhaps some additional supplemental spending that you've outlined, I would really like to see the parties back down for a moment. And let's have an evaluation. Why are the people of the metro area not riding the light rail in the way that it was originally projected? What are the problems there in terms of timing? We can talk about the slow car ride, but quite frankly, light rail in many instances is not known for fast service. There are some issues with regards to personal safety, and I think we need to sit down and evaluate why isn't this working. For us just to go out and build more rails is sort of like Representative Schumacher and I buying a truck and going into business together and buying 100 bales of hay for $2 and selling them for $1 and wondering why we lost money. And coming to the final conclusion, well, I guess we better buy a bigger truck. It just doesn't work that way. And so I would really encourage you to pull the parties, both those that are definitely for the project and those that are definitely against light rail, to the table and have some discussion, both in terms of the operation and what the future really holds for that. And then also make sure that those issues that we can deal with the most quickly and effectively, bus, rapid transit, that we go ahead and do it. And then also, as we look at the bonding bill, we saw a great number of transportation items with roads and bridges. We saw a lot of PFA funding, which is vital for our communities in terms of water, wastewater. We saw the HEPA monies for our colleges. It is important that we get that done. But we shouldn't let light rail necessarily stand in the way because there are other issues we need to work out. And also, to finish up, part of it is nobody trusts the Met Council up there. I'm convinced there's nobody in my caucus that does, and there's quite a few people in your caucus that don't. And I think we need to reevaluate that. It's necessary, but I think we need to provide some reform so that when they come up with a plan and they come up with recommendations, quite frankly, the people up there come to trust it rather than doubt it. And the citizens themselves up there are widely split on some of these issues. And I think asking me as a legislator to impose taxes on them when they don't really have an opportunity to have input into that process is not fair to them, and it's not fair to me. So those are just some general thoughts in being there for 4 years and looking at that issue without not really a dog in the show, so to say, but just looking at it from the outside, looking in. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there's reason that the Twin West Chamber of Commerce, which represents businesses along that southwest light rail line, is strongly in support of the project. The Minneapolis Chamber, the St. Paul Chamber, Minnesota Business Partnership have all come out in support of it. There's a reason that 18 of the 20 largest metropolitan areas have either subways or light rail. I would agree that our system is inadequate. We're well behind other major metropolitan areas in the inadequacy of our metro transit system and the fragmented nature. You got suburban counties and cities providing their own bus services, and then it links up with the MTC, and then light rail, and then you got the North Star coming in on, you know, the rail tracks into, so, I mean, we do not have a well-integrated and developed system. And one of the ways you get increased ridership is you have an integrated system that is efficient, and we're a long ways from that. But the question is, if there's no funding for light rail in this session, you have killed the Southwest line, and the federal funding will go to somewhere else where they're ready to go. And there's no alternative. There's not I mean, you can look at a map. There's not a rapid bus transit route available along, you know, from Eden Prairie to downtown Minneapolis. You got to go, you know, 494 and then 100 and then 394. I mean, even if you take the shoulders, it's not going to be effective. So the question I always come back to is, if not that, what else? And no one's been able to come up with a satisfactory answer to that question. So your points will take it. It's expensive, but you know, again, I believe the investment is worthwhile, because if you had 750,000 more people in the metropolitan area without a really state-of-the-art and effective mass transit system, the highways are going to be impassable. It'll take you 3 hours to get there, and people stop dealing with that.
It's costing your city so much money, the small amount of taxes you'd have to raise, which doesn't even make up for what you lose in income for businesses and everything else. It makes no sense.
I would just want to say again, you know, I mean, I can understand people saying, well, we don't want state tax dollars to go into this project. I mean, I agree with that, but I accept that.
But we go
But if you tell Hennepin County that they, and, you know, their county commissioners, I mean, they're responsible for those decisions, as school boards are, as your Nobles County commissioners are, to, you know, enable them to make that decision. If the citizens are strongly opposed, they, you know, they'll vote them out of office and should. But I believe that there's a widespread recognition in the metropolitan area that we got to improve our public transportation system. 60% of the revenues that come into the state of Minnesota Treasury come from the 7-county metropolitan area. So, you know, the success of that metropolitan area funds local government aid, county program aid, school assistance. I mean, everything. It really bothers me when I hear, you know, well, there's nothing in it for us here in greater Minnesota. Yeah, the success of the metropolitan area is vitally important to the overall well-being of the rest of the state, as the success of Worthington is vitally important to the well-being of the state, as is the success of Rochester, Mayo Clinic, the expansion there. I mean, we all do better when we all do better. And those of you who want to kill it, I just would ask you to consider what's the alternative and what does that mean, not next year, but 10 years from now. I'm sorry, I got to head off here, but I thank you very much. Thank you for the dialogue. And